Hello, hello, kings and queens and everybody in between. Welcome back to the Goddess Complex. I'm Ashley Michelle, your host and resident witch. And if you're new here, welcome home. We are here with yet another special guest. Just about halfway through the year, the guests have been so fantastic. Every year, it feels like my frequency is up leveling to the frequency of even more amazing guests inside this spiritual space. So I truly hope that you all are enjoying this medicine that we've been bringing to you. And I can't wait for even more. This amazing queen, I've been having my eye on her since I was a baby entrepreneur. And I've always just loved the work that she did and the energy that she brought. Big Empress energy.
Hey,
The name is in and of itself. We've got Clementine here today, and we're going to have a really good conversation about spiritual energetics, business energetics, shadow work energetics, all of this stuff, visibility codes. I can't wait to pick your brain on some of these topics because you've been in business longer than me, and I've been in business like 5 years. And I'm like, when the fuck did that happen? 5 years in business. It's crazy, right? So, without further ado, hello, darling. Tell the people who you are.
hello. Thank you so much for having me on your beautiful podcast. I am Clementine from Big Empress Energy.
Yes,
Okay. I'm always sending them
honey.
beautiful, bountiful blessings. Tell them to stay
Hmm.
open to receiving.
Yes.
I am a reader, a seer, astrologer, Reiki master. And yeah, that is what I do for a living. Big Empress Energy is just all around. It's just very multi-layered, I think, because I have like a Gemini stellium. So it's just like I'm so interested in so many different things. So I'm so
Yeah.
excited to dive into that with you today.
I was just going to ask, what are your big three?
Yeah, so I'm a Taurus sun, Gemini rising, Gemini moon.
Wow.
Yes. And I'm a
Interesting
Gemini.
combo.
Yes, I have so much Gemini placements, and my Gemini is my Jupiter is in Gemini, and today Jupiter is moving into Gemini, and I'm just
Hmm.
so
Sure
excited for
is.
Jupiter return.
Jupiter's moving into my 12th house right now. And
Okay, yeah.
so I'm like, do I need to find some ayahuasca, some DMT? Do I need to frolic with the fairies on some mushrooms? Like something
Yeah.
about that 12th house and Jupiter energy is like really exploring the like nether regions of our soul. So that's probably what I'm going to do a lot of the summer.
It's gonna be amazing. I just had it in my 12th house and it was just like it's a sweet energy. I feel like it's like a guardian angel. It's a deeper connection
Mhm.
to your own psychic gifts are just gonna be
Mhm.
expansive. Dreams have been out of this world this year. They're
Yeah.
just like taken up a notch, just like wow.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Jupiter in the 12th house is a beautiful spiritual up leveling, I feel
For
like.
sure, for sure. So
Mhm.
at the time you guys are listening to this full moon has already passed, but I'm just personally curious, Sagittarius sun, curious kitty. How did you enjoy this last full moon that we had in Sagittarius a couple of days ago? How was that for you?
I loved it. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was
Hmm.
exciting. Like it was, as a Gemini rising, it was in my seventh house of relationships. I
Hmm.
just feel like I got a lot of clarity as well, like with the energy leading up to the full moon around relationships and connections and who
Hmm.
I can like really be in relationship and companionship with, where,
Hmm.
I feel like I can just be myself rather than like individuals who want to like push their projections and shadows onto you. And then it's like, you know what, maybe this is not an energetic match. It's not equally yoked. So I dealt with
Right.
that as we let in. And then like when the full moon happened, it was just like a weight off my shoulder. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Do
How
you
about
have a
you?
stellium in the seventh house?
No, I have a stellium in the first house.
Ooh, really?
Yes, yes.
Oh, wow. How would you interpret that for the baby astrologers out here?
I would say that this gives someone like a very, big presence and influence in their environment.
Yeah,
It gives you a lot of vitality, I feel like.
I love that
And
word.
yeah, definitely. It's just like because it's like your personality, it's in your environment. I just feel like, yeah, I've always been kind of like someone who could get along with a lot of different people wherever I
Mhm.
go. Like it's really easy for me to connect with people. I feel like first house energy really draw people to you.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. Okay, so Clementine, what part of the world are you in?
I'm in Long Island.
Oh, okay, so you're not very far from me at all. You're not
No.
very far at all. Okay. Um, how did Big Empress Energy start?
Ooh,
I
big.
know. Like the vision, like what happened, what made you, because this work, let's be real, is not for the faint of heart, especially spiritual entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is one level. That's like work that most people don't do. And then you do spiritual entrepreneurship, and it's like, holy shit, like we're about to work right now.
Mhm.
Um, how did this vision come about? And second part, how have you been able to stick with it for so long?
Ooh. I feel like, you know, because of the work that we do, it's like ingrained in
Isn't
you
it?
from like very young. It's just a calling. So I
Mhm,
feel like it's been building, building, building for a time. I've
mhm,
always like been doing tarot readings since like high school
mhm,
and interested in astrology, but I just felt like it was just too mathematical and scientific for me to really grasp. So I just kind of
mhm.
like chilled with that, really took
Yeah.
tarot. And yeah, I was going through like my Saturn return. I had my son and I was getting my master's in a New York City teaching fellows. And
Hmm.
I was sitting in a summer class, and I was sitting here and I saw this girl in front of me, and she was on her Instagram, and she had an Instagram for Disney. Like she's a Disney person. And I'm like, wow, like she has a Disney Instagram. She has so many followers because she's really like loves Disney. And I'm like, I love tarot and
Yeah.
oracle cards. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? Let me just start my Instagram. And I started it
Yeah.
today in class.
Wow. And that's so okay. So you started your Instagram. So I one of the things I do inside Starseed Shadows is I work with baby entrepreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs, and help them really build. And one major theme that has come up with my students has been like, okay, so we built the Instagram, but like now what? Like, like we built the Instagram, I'm afraid to post, or like I don't want Uncle Bob to see, or like, how do I talk about my offers, or what if they say it's too expensive? You know what I mean? It's hard for them to actually commit versus it's like how do we get from building the Instagram to taking clients and feeling confident in the
Mhm.
work that you do? Where does
Yeah.
that confidence come from?
I feel like for me, for Instagram, what I initially was committed to doing because I went to school too for creative writing. I love writing.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
just originally wanted to post, like the image of the card and like an introspective deep caption. And I was doing that for a while and it was great. But then I just felt called to like go on camera. It was Aquarius season, doing something different. And
Mhm.
ever since then, it really pushed me out of my comfort zone, which is like, writing into like public speaking, which definitely wasn't something I saw myself doing whatsoever.
Mhm.
And so with that, I continually kind of put myself in these like very uncomfortable situations. And I
Yeah.
think because I had like no expectations, like anything was like, good and positive. So I got some positive reinforcement from making my videos. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. I just noticed that when I use my throat chakra and I really speak, it's like something comes over me. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to
Mhm.
keep doing that. And then like actually taking clients and charging them, I felt like, that was something that I started, more on a basic level. Like, but every time I did a reading, I definitely felt like questioning of myself or like questioning, am I going to be able to like do this? Am I going to be able to help this person? And I noticed like when you put yourself in these uncomfortable positions, like it's not really us sometimes that's doing it. Like when we surrender to our spirit, we surrender to our higher self,
Right.
angels, ancestors, there is
Right.
a magic that comes through. And I realized through my readings that I was getting a lot of confirmation. So it just gave me
Yeah.
feedback like, okay, I am on the right track. And it's like something that you just continuously do. And then you can kind of look back and be like, okay, I did that. Then once you have like a lot of, I mean, I wouldn't say a lot, but like once you feel more confident in yourself, then kind of like start, charging more or adding more
Mhm.
boundaries to the kind of readings that you're doing. You
Mhm.
want to think about, what you are offering and what you're not, and like be very clear on that because, in
Exactly.
client work, it can go either way and people can kind of go across the boundary. So it's really about activating that throat chakra, I feel like, and doing things that
Mhm.
make you feel uncomfortable. For
I
me, I wasn't comfortable.
totally agree.
Yeah.
And you said something really poignant. You said, the validation is in the work.
Mhm.
And that really is, especially for me too, and my journey, that brings about more confidence to talk about your work when you see yourself in like action, helping people see
Right.
things from different perspectives, helping them get clarity on a situation. You know, when you see the work paying off, there's the validation, and that helps that throat chakra activation that is truly needed in this soul work that we're doing here.
Definitely.
So, how long have you been in business?
I think, oh my gosh. I think I since 2018. So I
Okay,
think
a
years.
minute, a minute.
Yeah, 6 years.
Um,
Summer,
Do
July.
you ever do you ever have people, because I get this often,
Hmm.
they'll be like, do you have a real job, or is like this like the thing? Like, and I'm
Yeah,
like, this is a real job and this is the thing.
this is it. This is what I do.
Yeah, I'm
I
a
think,
witch.
yes,
This is
yeah.
what I do. Right.
People don't really understand it. Like, I feel like sometimes when you use
No.
like credit card, it says like my business card, I'll say like big Empress energy. They're like, what kind of
Mhm.
energy work do you do? And I'm like talking
Yeah.
about chakras. I think they think I'm doing some type of different energy work. They don't ask
Right.
questions. They're like, okay,
Right.
what is
Oh,
Reiki? People don't even, some people don't even know what it is. So
no, they
yeah,
don't.
I
And
find
Reiki
it
is
hard
so
to answer
good.
like, what do you do? I'm like,
I
there's
know.
not
I
time.
know. I know. What I've gone to recently is just like, I am a visibility coach, I'm a tarot reader, an Akashic Records reader, an astrologer, and I kind of leave it at that. And then I
Yeah.
kind of like see their eyes working. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
what questions do you have? You know,
Yeah.
like, and then we'll kind of open up the door there. But it is hard. So I have a couple more questions for you that I'm gonna like wait, because it came to my head about 15 minutes ago and it's gonna send us on a tangent. So
Mhm.
before we go there, I want to ask you another thing that I get, and I hope you all are hearing me. I hope I'm speaking for you right now. It's 2024 at the time that I'm recording this. We're about to hit summertime. You know, in general, the collective is going through this weird time with money. And I'm sure like you probably didn't notice it for a while, because I didn't notice it for a while, because I'm over here in my bubble working for myself
Mhm.
until I'm having conversations with the muggles, if you will. And they're like, oh, this is going on and the housing market sucks and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you guys need help? I'm like what's like what's going on? And that's when I started getting these whiffs of, we are not only in a recession, but they're predicting it's going to get worse. And so with that being said, clients coming in my world are also saying, you know, again, what if they say the work is too expensive and people don't see the value in my work and all of that? And so I guess my question is, how do you keep going with the work that you do without worry, fear, and doubt about what's happening with the collective?
Literally. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a really good question. I feel like what's coming to me right now is trust because
Yeah.
it's like we really, I do think that next year, 2025, is going to be harder than this year.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I do feel like everyone is feeling in the collective. Like I also kind of live in my own bubble and
Yeah.
I'm hearing about it. And then it's like, oh, it's happening. And I've definitely felt that impact. I don't know, like the collective's idea around spirituality, I feel like
Right.
has been shifting. I feel like during COVID, a lot of people um needed guidance or needed
It's
some sort
gotten
of like,
better.
yeah, definitely. So
Hmm.
people are doing better. And I always feel like, with these times we're meant to evolve. And so I feel like for me, I've been really questioning myself around like the new avenues I want to go into, which
Mm.
again brings like that kind of like maybe scary thing, like, okay, can you do it? And then you just start doing it. Like I just
Yeah.
started, offering professional astrology readings. I've always been doing astrology on the side, but then I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this in my business as well. And it's been helping, thinking about different services you can do that's unique to you and like what you're currently doing and what you're currently passionate about. That is going to help you also find those people who are also interested in that. I think another thing that's really helpful is being a constant in people's life where we have social media. So even if people do not have the resources in the moment, when they're engaging with your content and they feel a connection to it, when they do have those resources, they're going to want to take a chance, get a reading, or,
Mhm.
book a session or take a class or a course. It's also
Mhm.
really good to have these things on your site that are just like instant downloads, like ebooks or meditations and
Right.
things that can like supplement your, income too. And everyone's moving towards subscription,
Yeah.
all of those things. I feel like for me, I like to have a little bit more flexibility in my Gemini stellium. So I don't really
Yes.
subscribe to like doing the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
But, that's another option for
Yeah.
some stability. But we cannot really predict like what's going to happen. Is really faith, trust, and living in your purpose and knowing like, okay, I've been down before and I got up. So if anything happens, I'm going to build back up again. Like that's what
And
we do.
isn't that entrepreneurship though? And I think that's what I feel like we live in such a society of I want it and I want it now. And when people see us doing this work, doing our lives, creating our programs, and they're like, I want to do that too. I think people underestimate the grind that it takes to build up the following, to build up the clientele, to build up repeating customers, to make people happy, to make sure that you're also taking care of yourself. Because as a spiritual worker, we give a lot. So we got to make
Mhm.
sure that we're giving back to ourselves as well. It's a layered operation, if you will. And I think some people, they got to have that dog in them. Like you
Yeah.
gotta, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
this
That's
can't be
it.
just rainbows and butterflies, baby. You gotta really desire this work on a deep level for whatever reason. You just really have to deeply desire it. It can't be a hobby.
No. Yeah.
And so,
And
go
yeah.
ahead.
And I'm also thinking like sometimes we can feel, or I've had experiences where like you you can have a like interaction with someone, like they're telling you what to do on your own Instagram page, or like, you
Yeah.
should do this, or like, why aren't you talking about this? Or, I miss these type of readings. And it's like,
Mhm.
we can't be for everybody, so
Right.
it's, we got to just be for our people. We grow in
Hmm.
the way that we do. And sometimes that's another thing I've noticed within this 6 years. Sometimes we evolve and grow out of certain connections and relationships and clients. And
Hmm.
that's just part of the process,
It
part of the
really is.
evolution. Yeah. So
It
we got to
really
get
is.
comfortable being uncomfortable, not being for
Hmm.
everyone, and, having that trust and
Hmm.
continue, stay constant. Yeah.
What advice would you give to spiritual entrepreneurs out there that are looking to transition into doing this work full time? Maybe they are still working their day job because that brings them that level of security, but they know the end goal is to be full time in this work. What would you
Mhm.
say to them?
I would say, it's important to have that balance. Like as a Taurus, I would always prioritize making sure I have stability. But I would
Hmm.
see like how can you maximize your offerings in the
Yeah.
fact that like doing something like as a container, as a one-off with a group of
Hmm.
people, and
Hmm.
and so I feel like to maximize your business, it's like you are just one person. So you
Right.
have to like maybe a course or like an
Those
event.
one-to-ones will tire you out. Yeah.
Yeah, like an
Hmm.
event. And so you can have like multiple people join. There's no limit on it. And then you're also helping and servicing kind of everyone. Or, a course, something that you provide monthly, I think, to people, like a
Hmm.
service. Mhm.
Hmm.
That's really helped me.
What sort of starseed shadows? We obviously talk a lot about shadow work in this world. What sort of shadows have come up for you along your business journey, whether, personal or business wise or spiritual? Um, what's that been like?
I feel like some I feel like with the work that I do, I'm always talking and just like having ideas come to me and then like going to Twitter and like just blah blah blah. And
Mhm.
then, yeah, sometimes it's hit and sometimes it's missed. Like one time on Twitter, I was the Twitter target for the day. People were wishing me
Not
death.
the Twitter target. Stop
Yes.
it. Really? Why?
I had tweeted about takeoff when he passed, rest his
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
I was looking at the chart, I was looking at the
Yeah.
nodes, the eclipses, all these things. I made a tweet about it and people were not feeling it. And I was just like stuck on Twitter. I don't like to delete anything. Like if you go on my Instagram, you're gonna see like the first post I ever made. Like I just
I'm
like,
that way too.
yeah.
Who got time for that? I don't got time for that.
I'm not
Like,
like, I'm not there.
right? Yeah.
So yeah, I just kept it up and it was just it's really hard like getting ridiculed online for your thoughts and being misinterpreted. I feel
Oh
that
yeah.
that's something that, I constantly have to deal with. I've gotten more comfortable throughout the years, but it's like
Hmm.
in that way sometimes I feel overexposed or I feel cringy or I feel like,
Hmm.
you know, I'm too people know too much about me. Like my son's in the
Yeah.
12th house. He's in the 12th house. I'm like, but then it's like we have to kind
What's
of
in the 12th house? You broke up.
my son and my
Your
Venus.
sun and your Venus are in 12. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I really like to be in the shadows.
Hmm. Hmm. No, I mean, I can totally relate to that of feeling like cringy or like even like too much, again, with my experience being on television, it's definitely like I am who I am and that's all that I am. And when cameras picked up, I don't know how to be anybody else. So then sometimes when like something I said didn't land, like, oh my
Yeah.
God, the very first episode where I'm like, I'm Ashley, I'm a black Ashley, we're unicorns. They were
Yeah.
not fucking with it, bro. I'm
Oh
like,
my
what's
God.
wrong? I was like, I don't know that many Black Ashleys. I grew up in the suburbs of Rochester. I'm sorry that my experience is different than yours, Sandra. Like, it was fucking ridiculous. They were not feeling it. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God, this is the first episode. And I always use the term unicorns. I love unicorns. Who doesn't? And that is just one example of just, you know what? We got to sit in our power. We got to sit in our peace. And
Mhm.
I can't conform to somebody else's version of me. They just have to continue along this ride. They got over it. The people got over it because, people are fickle as fuck. One
Yeah.
day they hate you, the next day they love you. But it was still like, whoa,
Yes.
like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
I can imagine like being on reality TV, it's just like people just picking you apart, like
Oh my
picking your
God. I
life
was
off.
told to stay
How did
away
you
from
know?
Twitter. I don't go near Twitter. I
Yeah.
stay away from 90 Day Fiance on
Wait,
Twitter and
stay away.
Reddit.
Even though Twitter, as because I'm so chaotic, is my favorite app, but I feel like if I was
That's
super
that
exposed,
Gemini energy.
yeah, I just love it. I just love reading people's random thoughts. Like when I was a kid, I wanted my superpower to be reading minds, and now look,
Oh my God.
that's
I love it. And now look, exactly, exactly. So
yeah.
speaking of takeoff, which is interesting that Twitter wasn't feeling that because you weren't the only spiritual person that I saw speaking about Takeoff's death. And
Mhm.
so it's interesting that they chose you to target because there were a few things that came through my universe around that from other spiritual folks that I respect and admire in the space. But to each his own, they're over it now. But speaking of mainstream culture and society and all that, I am fucking fascinated at Pluto and Aquarius and Quiet on Set and P Diddy and Justin Timberlake and Mary J. Blige and the dark agenda in Hollywood and all of this stuff coming out in the first 2 quarters of 2024 as we witness Pluto entering Aquarius.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know. 2024
Is
is,
giving.
yeah, exposure.
Hmm.
That Cat
Hmm.
Williams interview like lives in my mind.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot. I'm fascinated with
A
everything
lot.
that's coming out too. It's like I feel a lot that's coming through for me too right now is like Neptune 29 Pisces. It's like
Mm,
all these illusions we had about
forgot
Hollywood
about that.
or
Right.
what we saw growing up. It's like nothing like that. It's actually sick and
Hmm.
demonic.
Very
And
sick, very demonic. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like what? Like this is the way we were indoctrinated and raised. Like now we got to do a whole like cleansing and limpia off of our way that we
Hmm.
like literally we didn't even know we were being like indoctrinated into all
No fucking clue. Like
things.
we grew up with P. Diddy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
insane.
I
And
always
for those of you that may have went over your head, what Clementine was saying, Neptune 29 Pisces, so that Neptune is in the 29th degree of Pisces, the very last, the second to last degree of Pisces. And so when Neptune entered Pisces, in my personal opinion, that kind of picked up this spiritual revolution that we're all witnessing right now. Where we don't have to hide our tarot cards anymore, where the witches can come out to play and we're not getting burnt at the stake, that sort of vibe. And so, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Clementine, but I feel like what you're saying with Neptune 29 Pisces, like he's almost done with this the Piscean energy. And so the wool is being like lifted off of our eyes because Neptune is the illusionist, right? And Pisces is always very ethereal and in the clouds. And so Neptune is almost done with his reign in Pisces. And so now because of that, we're in a space where I can see clearly now the rain is gone.
Literally, yeah, that's it. And also
Mhm.
Neptune's influence on like Hollywood and media and escapism in
Mhm.
general.
Yeah.
But Pluto and Aquarius, I feel like the world will literally, be so different in 20 years when it's done with the Aquarius thing. It's just everyone, I think that's part of the celebrity culture that's kind of dying right now. It's like Pluto and Aquarius, like it's like the power is in the people's hands, the power is in
Mhm.
making the world a better place as it's like crumbling and falling apart because we're
Right.
like where we can talk to people in different countries at any point.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're about to blow the lid off this.
And I
Yeah.
love that you said that because it might feel like it's falling apart right now. Like, I'm sure there are people that are listening here that are like, I can't pay my fucking light bill. Like, my husband just lost his job,
Mhm.
or like they're going through a really hard time, or maybe they watch a ton of news, which obviously doesn't help. So they're seeing all this stuff in the news. So they're probably like, what are you guys talking about? But the thing about it is it might feel this way right now. It's typical tower card. It's a tower moment. Burn it to the ground so we can rebuild something else. And sometimes we must burn it to the ground, whether it's on an individual level or like a macro level, to really see change that we're looking to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we're going through right now. Everything that's happening in the news every day, like I wake up, I'm like, what is gonna happen to me?
What's going
Like
to happen today?
we cannot stop. Like we are getting information overload too, I feel like with
It's so age of Aquarius too. All the tech,
all
information
the
overload.
time, the AI is taking over like a lot of different things,
Everything.
relationships,
Oh my
anything you need,
God.
but it's wild. It's a wild time.
It's so insane. I keep getting, because I'm a gym girly on my TikTok. I didn't have like I had my best workout when I let AI do it for me and
Yeah.
stopped paying my coach. And I'm like, if you all like don't chill, like everybody needs to chill. What do we know about this AI? It's crazy.
That
I
they're
don't know how
tracking
I feel
us.
about it. I'm such an old millennial. I'm like, give me a pen,
Absolutely.
paper, and it's like I'm good with that.
Me too. And it's very kind of it adds to the uncomfortability of like being visible sometimes. I'm interested to hear about you being a visibility coach because that
Yeah,
sounds intriguing. But yeah,
yeah.
it's like being visible. And then we have these like Pluto and Aquarius, these AI making watching us so they can also mimic us and like does readings. AI will tell you what to eat. AI can tell you like all these things. It's not accurate. I asked AI for like my astrology chart and it was completely inaccurate.
I
ChatGPT.
believe that. I
So
believe
yeah, it's like, and we're constantly also needing to work with technology in new ways, like
that.
editing and the attention span, how it's decreasing. It's just like it's a lot. I feel like that's a part of being like an older millennial too, where
Mhm.
I'm not like on TikTok really. I'm not
Yeah.
into digital things. So
The
I'm always
trends and all
setting
that.
my mind to kind of, yeah, get with the times.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said the world is going to be so much different in 20 years. Because we don't really know how. And it's kind of like, like we're talking about being older millennials. It's like, okay, so we have to keep up with the times because we run these online businesses. So we have to kind of know what's going on and what software is there. But then at the same time, there's a level of integrity around doing things your fucking self. And like, I
Mhm.
don't want to go with the newest TikTok trend. I want to
Yeah,
just post what I want to post from my heart. Like I don't want to like put that sound on because it's a trending sound. And,
yeah.
it's
And I feel like when we started using the internet,
mhm.
people were dragged for copying someone else's content. Now people
Yeah.
are they clap for you to use someone else's content and use someone else.
Yes.
It's just like, wait, what? Yeah.
It's so wild.
Yeah.
It's
Now it's like
so
you see the
wild.
same reel, the same content with like different people.
Mhm.
And
Oh
it's
my
very,
God.
very not, it's
It's
uninspiring. My
it's
personal
very uninspiring. Like Texas Hold'em. If I see that fucking dance one more
opinion.
time on TikTok, I can't. Now they're doing something else. I can't even keep up with it, but they're doing something else. Um, it's wild shit. And for me, I think for me as an online business owner and like you were talking about before, diversifying essentially what you offer in your product suite. So I kind of infuse fitness and spirituality together in my work. but it also has been kind of hard to figure out this balance between posting and talking on my platforms for the fuck of it and then for the business of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I only got on Instagram for the business. Like I was one of those girlies who was like, put your phone down when we're traveling, like put your
Mhm.
like not involved whatsoever. And so I think it's interesting that I ended up running an online business because I was very averse to all of the online stuff. And
Yeah.
so when I am on it, it's obviously for a purpose, it's for business, it's for work, but then also you attract your clientele by doing you. And
Right.
so like finding that group, especially, the Gen Zers love you guys, but you guys are there for the laughs and for the giggles, and everybody's got squirrel brain. So you guys are there for like that quick dopamine hit, not necessarily wanting to hear about the next offer that's coming up. So finding that balance has been hard for me.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that. You got to mix it in there, you got to
Mm-hmm.
just like mix it in, put it in somewhere. I like to, promote like what I'm doing under my caption. So even if it's like a silly, tweet that I posted, like under the captions, I'll have like the offerings that you have,
Oh
or when I'm
yeah.
going live, like put it somewhere in there
Mhm.
towards the beginning, because like again, the attention span is not gonna maybe make it to the end.
Right,
But yeah,
right.
sprinkle it in there. And I love that you are also doing fitness with your spirituality
Yeah.
too, like your spinning and everything
Hmm.
classes. That's so dope. I
Yeah.
recently got a Pilates certificate, and
Oh,
now I'm like, okay,
congratulations.
do I work like with people? Do I get a
Yeah.
job? Like, what do I?
Well, the one thing I noticed too, is that people that are very into health and fitness often are very much into spiritual work. So I've
True.
gained a lot of clientele from the gym. And,
Yeah.
from being there doing fitness work, they meld together very well. So, congratulations on getting that Pilates certificate because that shit's not easy. Um, so definitely use it, and I love it. I'm a firm believer that it all works together, mind, body, soul. And when your body, your physical vessel feels good, it's made me a stronger channel, a more clearer channel. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean? And the
Yes.
confidence codes, going back to visibility. In order to be visible, we must feel confident in who we are. So how do we feel confident in who we are? We take care of who we are. We take care of our vessel. And when we're taking care of ourselves, those confidence codes come up. And when we feel confident, we could give a fuck what Sally Sue says about us. I have something to say, and I think that's where the power comes from.
Definitely. Yeah. I've noticed that too, like with my health journey, my fitness journey, whatever. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely changed like my connection with spirit, the energy that you have to bring into work. Like, of course, there was
Mm-hmm.
times like when I started that I was just so exhausted and tired, but then you build
Mm-hmm.
up stamina,
You
and that's in
do.
all areas of your life. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it just
That's
makes
funny.
like you moved energy, to start getting,
Yeah.
and it's like now you have all this energy to like give to the world.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's funny that you say that. Because that is a thing where people are, there's only X amount of hours in the day, and you have a kid, so like God bless, because I mean, adding a child onto being an entrepreneur and then taking care of yourself. For the mothers out there who are into this work, what does your calendar look like? Like how do you do it?
It's crazy, like
Yeah.
it's a lot. That's why I take my rest very seriously.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I know when I have to just relax and do nothing and tune everything out, I will put my phone on do not disturb. I won't open any apps. Like I'm really good with just making sure I rest, but I'm very, busy all the time. There's always something to do. But my
Mm-hmm.
son is, he's in school, so he's 7. So when
Mm-hmm.
he's in school, that's when I'm going to the gym. That's when I'm
Right.
doing client work. And
Mm-hmm.
then, when he's home, we have to like focus on homework, after school activity.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes after I put him to bed, I'm still like working on maybe client work, prepping for
Mm-hmm.
readings and doing certain different things. So it's like I work like scattered throughout the day. Like my
Yeah,
work, like
I do
work,
too.
then chill, then work, then
Mhm.
all this stuff. So it's
Yeah.
not, yeah, it's always something. So I try to rest when I can. Okay. Like maybe on a nighttime, like when he's with his dad. Sometimes my mom too. I have 2 little
Mhm.
sisters that are like 11. and 13. So sometimes like he'll want to hang out with them. That gives me like an hour to do reading. So I
Right.
get like little breaks throughout the day because of the support system that I have.
Yeah. Support is so important on this journey. It really
Yeah.
is. It really
And my
is.
mom respects it. My mom is like really there for me a lot.
Oh, yay. That makes me so happy. I'll never forget the first time that my mom got a tarot reading from me. It took my parents a while to come around. It took
Yeah.
them a while, but when they did, they came around fully and they're like here for it. And
Love that.
being on the show, I was a little apprehensive, like, what's family gonna think? I'm like, I'm a witch. And I've been doing my business for so long, but sometimes, Uncle Bob is not looking at my website, like they don't fully know what's happening. Um, and so I was like, you know what? If they have questions, they can come ask me. And so far, I've been well received by family. Nobody's been like nobody shunned me. They've just been more curious and it's opened up more doors for conversation, which I think is needed, which is why I've been calling this a spiritual revolution. I just feel like, I remember when I would have to hide my tarot cards and I would have to hide my little altar spaces. And I'd be like, oh my God, like nobody can find out. I
Yeah.
remember that very vividly. To jump now 20 years into the future, we're having these open conversations about deity work, visibility work, business energetics, reading tarot, Pluto and Aquarius and the P Diddy scandals. Like we're having these open conversations. It blows my mind every day and I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah. It's
know?
in a different world. Like when I started my page and my big Empress energy. And like I would wake up because I was a teacher in the South Bronx. I'd have to wake
Mhm.
up really early so I could like do my readings before I went to the commute, and I'd have to leave
Mhm.
early so I could make sure I have parking. I
Mhm.
would record my readings in my dad's office and he was like telling me like this gives me the heebie-jeebies. Like I
Yeah.
don't like this. But it was just kind of like people can disagree with me, but I'm still gonna do me. So I was like, okay, well,
Exactly.
I
So
would do
either
readings. He's like knocking on the door because he has to get in. I'm like,
right.
no.
I'm busy right now. Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's funny. And I think the authenticity is really a breath of fresh air, especially because we are in the age of Aquarius and everything is so fucking curated online. And it does give people imposter syndrome and it gives them this like false start. People are like, I'm so ready to do this. I'm so ready to show the world what I have. And then they get online and there's some fucking coach hanging out on a goddamn super yacht talking about how they just hit the millie. And then it's
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and not do anything.
True.
And I think it's a reminder, which is why I very much am very selective on who I bring into my universe and on the pod, because I only want the most authentic individuals, because this is what is going to keep this
Mhm.
energy going, of people really taking personal development and spiritual development seriously and shadow work seriously. And, the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine, like this is the healing work when we are in these spaces and allowing people to see themselves, for who they are and like really love that.
Yes, absolutely. That's so beautiful because it's so true. Imposter syndrome, it can come up when we are in comparison, and it's
Yeah.
like it's hard sometimes to not when you are scrolling mindlessly and then all these like kind of like shadow ego things come in your mind.
Instagram models, everybody wants a big ass right now. That's the thing.
That's the thing. That's why I think a lot of people are in fitness too, because everyone sees themselves online and then they're like, okay, I want to look better. So it's like, now I got to build this butt. But it's like everything
Yeah.
takes time. You can't just like build a body in a day or in a week or in a
Yeah.
month or in a year. You got to like stick with it. It's like kind of the same thing with your spiritual development and your,
It's so true.
you
So
know,
true. If I had $1 for every time somebody asked me if I lost 100 pounds in 6 months, I'm like, babies, this was filmed forever ago. And I was on a weight loss journey before cameras even picked up. It has been 3 years. Like,
wow,
yeah, it's been 3 years.
that's
And
how
I'm
it is.
glad for every day of those 3 years, because the longer you take to take it off, that it creates longevity to keep it off, you
Right.
know? Um, but it's
Yes.
just so wild. What people think is going on versus what is actually going on, whether it's on the TV screens or in Instagram and TikTok or in Hollywood, you
Yeah.
know? And so I think it's really important, whoever people are learning from, to make sure they're learning from somebody that they trust and that have been doing this work for a long time, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, real people. And I feel like when we see all these things in the media, like, even like TV, it's so edited, like you said, it
Yeah.
happened like film like a year ago. Then you
Mhm.
of course, like, we don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. So it's like it's entertainment. Like, it is
Right,
entertainment.
right, right. The
Like, it's just,
housewives are great at reminding us of that. Like in their interviews, they will remind us, be like, we are entertainers. We're here to
yeah.
entertain you. I'm
And
like, good on
it
you.
the job. And then it's like, okay, well, we
Yeah.
got it. But it's like we cannot like project all these like beliefs on these people and then
Hmm.
also try to, put that on us. Like, okay, since they're doing this, I should do this.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
I'm a
big thing
fine
too.
attorney, you know?
Hmm.
And I
It's so
think
true.
that what stops people the most is that like comparison, being scared, being an
Hmm.
imposter. It's like the
Hmm.
more that you show up, the more that you trust yourself and trust your intuition,
Hmm.
that's how you build self-trust and
Right,
self-discipline. And like then you get to see, okay, like I'm called to this for a reason. It's not just
right.
like for nothing. It's, as long as you're doing
Exactly.
it based on your ego and not because you want what someone else has too.
Right. Such a good point.
Mhm.
So really quick, Clementine, going back to the conspiracy stuff, P.
Okay.
Diddy, what do you think is going to happen with this? Do you think this is much bigger? Do you think he is just the scapegoat? Like the face? What are your thoughts on, you know, let them eat cake and it being burned to the motherfucking ground? We love
Oh
conspiracy
my
talk
God.
here on the Goddess Complex.
I love this question because I love to, I love to keep my ears to the ground and know
Hmm.
what's going on in the streets. And I do
Hmm.
feel like with P. Diddy, this specific situation, it's been going on for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
He's not even there. Like his soul is not even there. It's gone. It's like you look into it, it's just like the window that's closed. And I
Right.
feel like I've gotten that energy from him for a very long time.
Hmm.
I could see like there's obviously a lot. He's not alone. There's so
Yeah.
many people. I think it's not only him, it's a culture
Hmm.
in Hollywood, especially in that time. Like the things that they
Hmm.
were doing 10 years ago, like don't really fly these days. It's
Hmm.
like coming up now. I think that he was a part of the culture, but his ego and like need for power and control, and probably because he has his own insecurities, took over him. And
Hmm.
he has, I think, really done terrible, terrible things to people. And I think that
Hmm.
obviously more is coming out. What do
Yeah.
I think is going to happen with that? I do feel like if you have that many skeletons and things in your closet, like I don't think he's too big, but he might just leave the country and be with Russell Simmons
Hmm.
before they even lock him up. But I
Yeah.
think that, something is given like Bill Cosby type of
Isn't
situation.
it?
Yeah, it is. And
Bill
I think,
Cosby on steroids, though.
oh
Like
yeah, no, it's so much
worse.
worse. It's
Yeah.
so much worse. It seems like, it's not only like all the sexual things, but then
Yeah.
also all of those physical things and then the mind. It just
Hmm.
really, really bad. And the way that he tries to always rebrand himself and change his name is because he's running from himself.
Yes.
Like love, but there's nothing loving about that
Like
energy. Apparently, a
love.
cult leader also had that name, Brother Love. And
I feel
it's
like I
like,
remember hearing about that.
it is so so sick. And I think that people are done with celebrities as we're entering into this like era of like inflations and
Hmm.
recessions and like people having real life things to focus and worry
Exactly.
about. It's like we do not give a f, and we're seeing that it's all smoke and
Right.
mirrors. A lot of people don't even have money. He didn't even own
Hmm.
whatever it
Smoke
was.
and fucking mirrors.
It's like you're comparing yourself to people, they don't even live that life like that
No,
for
they're
real.
in a bunch of debt or there's something going on. It's not even their house. Shit is rented. That's been
Yeah,
going on a lot with the housewives. Like a
yeah.
lot, their clothes are rented, their houses are rented, their cars are rented. Like it's insane. And that's why when you were talking about comparison, when it comes to like this work, like walk your path. Don't compare yourself to anybody else because you don't really know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
You only know what you see, and that's a curated version of something.
Yeah. Like, and I think that when we're doing this work, we have to see like what sets you apart, like, and lean into that, or like
Yeah,
what you are really passionate about. Like, you cannot go wrong really focusing on something that is like in your heart, because I mean, this
right.
in spirit is part of your purpose and your plan.
Hmm.
I think that, yeah, celebrities are like the macrocosm, and then like influencers the microcosm of, how we can compare ourselves to things that are just not true. Because what
Mhm.
people, I just, it's just, I don't know if it's my 12th house energy, but I always know like whatever you see is just like the surface. There's so much more to
Yes.
we really don't know. And the more that you do know, the more that you meet people online, as I've been in this space for a long time and
Mhm.
made relationships and really see what's going on, it's like, okay, a lot of people just put up that they're not living about that life. There are
No,
some people who are. There are some people who are that I've met
right.
saying like, so that just kind of confirms to me like, okay, you are on the right path because you are doing something that is just authentic to you. You feel good
Exactly.
about it. You're not, you know, putting people on a pedestal, putting yourself on a pedestal.
Mhm.
That is really, really a way to kind of lose focus on what's happening.
And to lose focus on the goal, the mission. Like we get into this work because we feel a calling from spirit, source, God, universe, whatever the fuck we want to call it, Yahweh, the heavens, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a deep calling. There's an internal calling that is there's like an itch you can't scratch, right? And I noticed for a lot of us, we've been doing this work since we were kids. We've been, reading horoscopes, playing with tarot cards, even if we didn't fully know what they meant. We were doing it from such a young age, and then it refound us later on in life, often around our Saturn returns. I have a very similar story to you, and then we come into it. There's a reason why. And the one thing that I love to say is we can be called to a lot of things. Like if you're called to this work, there's a reason why, or else you simply just wouldn't be called to it. It's that easy. There's how many billion people on this earth? Most of them are not going to be like, give me that tarot deck. So like
Yeah.
if you're feeling that way, there's a reason why,
Yes.
you
And
know?
also like the past lives. I feel like
Hmm.
get into past lives and like the Akashic records and everything. That's
Yeah,
another sense of confirmation. Like, okay, this is not our first time doing
sure.
this, not our first time showing up in
No.
this lifetime as this.
Mm,
And I think that brings me a lot of just like, okay, comfort in knowing that this is just one incarnation of my
yes,
journey, you know?
exactly. So
Yeah.
true. So
And
true.
just enjoying this version because then my consciousness is
Hmm.
going to be, or it might probably already is. Who knows?
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So I love to ask my guests this question as we wrap up, and answer it however you want. But let the people know, what does shadow work mean to you?
So for me, shadow work is seeing the things about you that you do not want to see. It's like kind of giving self-awareness to me, seeing
Hmm.
those ways that you also sabotage and harm yourself without
Hmm.
actually consciously thinking about doing it. It's
Hmm.
really looking in the mirror and seeing like what role did I play in whatever situation you're going on in your life, and
Yeah.
taking having awareness, accountability, and also grace for yourself, because like no one is perfect. And it's about that, awareness. I always feel like you shine a light on the shadow, and you have to
Hmm.
do in shadow work. I feel like you have to also finish it with sweetening. So focusing on what you do love about yourself, or like the, goals that you have for yourself about being like more of a self-actualized person.
Hmm.
But shadow work is really just like seeing that shit that you do not like, that you do, that harms you and other
Hmm.
people that you are in relationship with. And it's something also that we're just constantly doing. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly going
Hmm.
to be seeing certain things about us that we can change, and it's not a bad thing. I feel like shame, guilt, fear, all these things, jealousy, um all these things, greed, envy, lust, we've all like felt that. And I always just like, it's part of the human experience. We are human, so we are not just here to be perfect. When we came into this world, we knew it was going to come with some shit. And it's just
Right.
like we got to go down into, we have to meet our shadow, but we cannot, like, I feel like, stay there too much, because
Hmm.
maybe it's just like my Jupiterian energy. I just want to focus on like the optimism and being like, okay, well, even though today wasn't good, tomorrow will be a better day.
Yeah.
But it's really like being real with yourself. I feel like
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
real with yourself, like you're not always, it's not always other people's problems. It's not always other
Right.
people to blame.
Hmm. Exactly. It's not always other people's problems. That's
Yeah.
funny that you say that. For some odd reason, this year specifically, I've been feeling called to call out the victim mentality that is like seeping within the collective. And I have no clue why. It was never something I never really talked much about in the last few years. But this year, and those of you that have been with me for a while probably have noticed that I've been calling people out. I'm like, stop playing the victim. Like,
Yeah.
just, there needs to be some ownership for why we are in the spaces that we're in, whether we enjoy those spaces or not, or parts of those spaces and other parts we don't enjoy that much. What is it that we don't enjoy, and how can we tweak them so that we can? And
Mm,
and maybe because I've been doing my own shadow work, we can't blame our parents for everything. You
yeah.
know, we are very lucky that we live in a society of today where we can be like, mom, you didn't really do a good job there. Dad, you could have been better there, because our parents couldn't do that shit.
Yeah.
So it's cool that we can do that, but at the same time, okay, what can we do now though? Because
Yeah.
they're not going to get it perfect. How would they get it perfect? They're dealing with damaged DNA, just like we are. If you really want to like get into it,
Oh, true.
we're talking about ancestral karma and stuff that's being brought down from generation to generation to generation to generation. How could they get it right? You know, um,
Yeah.
I've just been in this space where I'm over blaming other people for, why you haven't bought that house, or why the wait's still on, or why you overspend, or why you haven't finally made the post, or all these things that we do to self-sabotage, but then you want to blame somebody else for the self-sabotage. That's
Yes.
visibility coaching in a
I
nutshell.
love that.
Yeah,
I love that so
yeah.
much. And I feel like you're being called to like blame, to point out the victim mentality, because
Mhm.
people are sharing their trauma so much like online these days in ways
Wow.
that I could have never imagined before.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
That it's
lot.
just like they just are sharing a lot, and it's like, okay, we have to have like safe spaces where we can do that. The internet is not one of them.
No, the internet
And
is not safe. Exactly.
no,
You're right. The internet is not safe. If you thought the internet was safe, friends, it's not a safe place.
no, not to like go into all this stuff, because it's like once you put it out there, you have to know that someone's gonna have an opinion on it, and then you might not like
Exactly.
that. You're still dealing with your own ish. So it's like,
Right.
you can't take on other people's bullshit on your problem. Like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So
Because
there are spaces for that, but I feel like people really need to safeguard some of the things that they're saying, and also take that like awareness that, okay, it happened to you. It wasn't your fault that it happened, but it is on you to change it. It is on you to evolve it. Unless you
right.
want to stay stuck in that same cycle, but it's like, how has that been serving you?
Right. How has that been serving you? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's time for us to ask ourselves the hard questions. It might be that Pluto and Aquarius energy too. I have an Aquarius moon.
Yeah. Okay.
So, that might be it too, but it's just like, if it's not working, let's figure out why it's not working instead of continuing the pattern in the cycle. And no, it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's a part of it. Like you said at the top of this podcast, putting yourself in uncomfortable positions is what leads to growth and
Yeah.
expansion.
Exactly.
So I think the more people that get that, the better. But Clementine, this has been amazing. Tell the people where they can find you, how they can support you, how they can book with you, all of the good stuff.
Awesome. Yes. You can find me at bigempressenergyllc.com. Okay.
Love
Every
it.
month, new and full moon, I do Reiki, virtual distance Reiki sessions. We have different themes focused on what new or what moon it's in, what season we're in. And I'm also offering Reiki school this summer. So
Oh,
I can
cool.
teach you Reiki levels 1 and 2. I also am going to be doing 3 in the fall. And I book, astrology readings like natal chart, transit chart, what's your strengths and weaknesses, love relationships, all of those beautiful things. I can do live calls or pre-recorded readings. And I also offer tarot readings, again, live or pre-recorded. I love doing both. I really started out doing a lot of pre-recorded work, but
Mhm.
I realized that like with especially astrology, it's so important sometimes to like just like get also people's feedback to learn
Yes.
about their own chart. So I really,
Hmm.
really love like one-on-one calls. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's how I've been growing and expanding. And you
Yeah,
can find
that's
me
a
on Instagram, all the things, Big Empress Energy.
big Empress energy. And we'll have all the links in the show notes.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. This was such a full conversation, and I knew it was going to be such a full conversation. Already, you already know, friends, like and share the episode. Leave us that 5-star review, share it with a friend, share it with your mother, share it on the stories, tag us, Big Empress Energy, Ashley Michelle 90 Day, And we will see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao for now. Hello, friends. I hope you loved today's episode. Make sure you share it with a friend, share it with somebody that you love, and tag me on the gram at Ashley Michelle 90day and let me know your thoughts. Leaving that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify is literally what helps this work get to the right people. As you may or may not know, we are in the middle of a spiritual revolution, and us being able to get our hands on resources like this podcast and others is what is literally going to make the world go round. So do me this favor and please leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share the episode with somebody you love. It really, truly does mean the world to me. I love you so very much, and I will see you in the next one.